He's shaking heads. So, well, first of all, welcome. Thank you for the CDC for doing this third Get to Know You presentation. Just for some Tabernacle folks who don't really know the CDC, but they like to invest in communities. They're advocates for affordable housing, economic and youth development, community engagement, and urban art. They really have serviced over 800 individuals, families, and children throughout the North Shore, and has applied 400 affordable housing units within over the North Shore. Today, Felicia Pierce, who's there, I see her, yes, I do. We'll be talking about the Youth Build program on the North Shore, and the advantages that Youth Build has with working with folks between 16 and 24. She's also going to talk about community engagement. And I'm assuming other folks from CDC will chime in at some point. Eileen, is Eileen here? Yep, yeah, Eileen's good. She's going, good evening. Later on in the program, she'll be talking about the Lafayette Homes Project and give us some information about that. So that's all I have, and welcome everybody. And thanks for coming. And Felicia, it's all yours. Okay.
Great, thank you so much. And Hannah and Selma, who's our youth services coordinator, is going to share her screen. And Mickey wishes he could be here. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it this evening, but you're all in good hands. And this is a fun bunch because we get to work with the young people of North Shore CDC and the community. And so I'll do introductions shortly. So Bob did a great job of kind of outlining the team that has been meeting with you all for the past few meetings. So Hannah, you can go to the next slide. So we'll start with introductions. Mickey, who's our CEO, who couldn't be here. He leads our organization and has done for 15 years. There's me in the middle. I'm the Chief Program Officer, and Eileen Vogel, who's our Senior Project Manager, who's a part of this project and also was instrumental in collaborating with us on our first development, Harbor Crossing, which is dedicated to youth who experience homelessness. And then today, you get to hear from, you're not going to hear that much from Eileen and myself, but Michael Quigley, who's our Youth Build Director. He's been with us for about 5 years. It'll be 6 years soon, or it was 6 years in March. And so he has over 10 years experience working in youth development, and he ran a youth build program both in Quincy and Worcester. And so he's going to share a little bit about his background in adult basic education and also the work that he does with youth build. We like to call him the action-oriented person. He gets things done. He's been an instrumental part of getting young people employment and on the route to success. Jasmine Grady is our youth services manager. She leads all of our support services. Her background is in mental health counseling. She also manages our AmeriCorps service program with the young people. And she is kind of the day-to-day management of our Youth Build program. And she also sits at the intersection between our Youth Build program and also Harbor Crossing. She supports Hannah and her work a little bit with working with some of the young people there. And then Hannah Anselmo, our youth services coordinator, and she actually was very instrumental in helping us design the services and the service plan and the support for Harbor Crossing. She has a background in social work. She's found ways to really develop community within Harbor Crossing, our youth building. And we hired her as she was graduating from Salem State. And she's an amazing practitioner, social worker, and has since been really embedded in the youth housing movement that's happening in Massachusetts. Today, she actually just finished her last cohort program, which was full of providers that work with youth who experience homelessness across the state of Massachusetts. And so that's our team. I'll let them introduce themselves also if they want to say anything. Mike, is anything you want to add?
Well, thank you for the wonderful introduction, Felicia. Yeah, I love this work. I've been doing this for a long time because I believe the youth build population is a really unique, talented group of young people who just have not had the opportunity to have caring adults in their lives who show them what real love and respect looks like, and provides them with the opportunity to do something with their talents. We have some of the smartest, most hardworking, wonderful young people in the country that come through our program. So it's an absolute honor to do this job. And I appreciate you all taking the time to learn about what we do tonight, because it's important work. I love what I do. I'm blessed to do this work. And thank you for allowing us to share this experience with you.
Thank you, Mike. Jasmine?
I think Mr. Quigley said it all. For me at least. Miss Hannah?
I think, Mike, you did a wonderful job. I'm excited to be here as well.
Alrighty.
You want to go to the next slide, Hannah? So to give you a little bit of context and history of the youth development work we've done. So in 2014, North Shore CDC really thought about how we can engage young people and youth and kids from the community. And so we started a program called Students Taking Action in Neighborhood Development, where we started to give youth from the community a perspective on really what does it mean to be a part of like developing your community. And one of the biggest projects that that group of young people did was really look at their community and identify an issue. And what they noticed primarily in the Point neighborhood was that there were like no trash cans. So they did a study, and from that study, they found out that as young people, they could make a difference in their community. And so what that also did was provide a paid youth work experience. And North Shore CDC also did a Point Vision Action Plan, which made us really think about how can we engage the community further. And one of the things that came out of that plan was that we needed more opportunities for young people to thrive and to be successful, and more jobs in the community. And so we established our Youth Build program, which you'll hear about in a little bit. And I'll let Jasmine and Mike go more in detail into that. And then also our youth housing kind of kicked off. Eileen, Hannah and I have worked significantly on that. But also Harbor Crossing, which is the building we kind of talked about before. Hannah's going to go more into detail about that. But from that, we've been involved in several youth housing initiatives, which is the Youth Count 2021, of which Hannah, myself, and actually the whole team, we kind of work from a team approach, have been working very closely with Lynn Housing to identify youth who have experienced homelessness. I think sometimes people think of homeless youth as people who are living on park benches, or are destitute. And sometimes we have to look at youth experience homelessness as people who are couch surfing, or someone who's living with a family member that can sometimes be abusive, but they feel like they have to stay there because they need somewhere to stay. And also we have done, this team you actually see today have done youth tenancy trainings to help other practitioners learn how to train or how to teach young people how to be ready to live on their own and independently, how to pay their rent on time, how to maintain an apartment, and how to be successful as they transition to permanent housing. Next slide. And here's a graphic. So this year, North Shore CDC, we're celebrating 10 years of impact. And so, which is great to reflect on the work that we have done for the past 10 years. And so we had 43 young people come through our STAND program. 197 young people came through our Youth Build program, which is primarily funded through the Department of Labor. And also we were able to house 23 young people who have experienced homelessness and have also aged out of foster care, which has been a great pipeline of understanding that people do age out of the foster care system and what happens to that population. And one of the coolest things that I know Mike's going to share later is that over 176 of our young people through Youth Build have been able to attain professional certificates. So that means they have industry recognized certificates that can help them lead to meaningful employment. And we have an average hourly rate of people who graduate of $15 per hour, which I think is awesome. That these are young people that people at one point in time thought, you know, we're not going to be successful, and they're able to come out of our programs successful. And I'm going to turn it over to Jasmine.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Jasmine. I am the Youth Services manager at Youth Build North Shore. I started here in 2016 as a case manager and moved my way up to senior life coach and now to my current position. Um, Really quick, I just want to say that I love my job and my organization. I work with a team of professionals that are skilled in youth development and in working with opportunity youth. Um, Again, my background specifically is in mental health counseling. And when working with young people, I pay particular attention to the unique developmental and social expectations that are common in young adults. I can tell you that our young people, like what Mr. Quigley said, are the most resilient and inspirational young people I've met. And it's incredible that, like, to watch them grow, inside and outside of the classroom. And I learn as much from them as they do from me. So, again, thank you for inviting us. And I am going to talk more about these program components and our accomplishments and functionings. So, our program, Youth Build North Shore, is a holistic workforce development program designed to help opportunity youth ages 16 to 24 earn their high school equivalency diplomas, industry recognized credentials for in demand occupations, and um, training to build affordable housing for homeless individuals and families in the North Shore. Youth Build offers students and graduates opportunities for personal growth, career development, and academic advancement through mentorship and support from Youth Build staff and community leaders. Our members, our Youth Build participants, receive training in the construction or healthcare trade and are committed to serving their communities as AmeriCorps members. Um, our program is offered to participants with no cost. The training is from 8:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, and they receive a stipend every 2 weeks based on their attendance and effort within the program. But before getting accepted into the program, participants undergo a mental toughness screening to determine whether they're ready for this workforce development program. Mental toughness is a period where participants engage in a variety of activities, including team building exercises, peer discussion groups, goal setting, workshops, high set pre testing, and preliminary construction activities. And each activity is designed to help participants build confidence to see his or her desire to be in the program and willingness and ability to work hard, follow instructions, and get along with other members. And completion of mental toughness is essential as young people have the opportunity to change their self image, make a positive commitment to themselves and their community, and join the Youth Build program. And so after they do all of that, they're in the Youth Build program and they're faced with these five components. So Youth Build has five components. It's education, career readiness, vocational training, life coaching, and community service. And so, in regards to education, our young adults spend roughly half of their time advancing their formal education goals, working towards their high school equivalency diplomas. And sometimes we accept a small pool of individuals that already have their diplomas, but they work on college prep to pass a college accuplacer test. And then for career readiness, our students get ready for the workforce by attending our leadership and future success classes, which later connects participants with potential future employers tailored to their interest in training. And then for life coaching, me and Miss Hannah are life coaches. Well, I think all staff are life coaches, but me and Miss Hannah are like life coaches on the books. But every young person comes in, and when they come in, they have an individual service plan. And so an individual service plan consists of a personal goal, an educational goal, and a career goal. And basically, during their time in Youth Build, the young person meets with their life coach, and we kind of track that progress. And Hannah and I also facilitate life skills groups. So, things that, would advance a young person's growth. So maybe, you know, um, how to, send an email to, a future employer, or how to accept or give constructive feedback. Um, we just do groups like, anything that we deem would be necessary for their growth. We'll put that into our life skills schedule, and our young people come up with some of the ideas as well. And then for community service, all of our members are AmeriCorps members. So basically, that's like community services recognized on like a large scale, where our young people would have to do 450 hours of community service, and then after they complete 450 hours of community service, they earn an educational award, which is at least $1,500. And so they can use that for educational expenses, or if they have loans, they shouldn't have any loans yet, but if they had educational loans, they could use that award towards that as well. Alrighty, and so here are some Youth Build accomplishments. So in 2019 and 2020, 88% of Youth Build members obtained their high set diplomas. And in 2019 and 2020, 94% earned an industry recognized certificate in carpentry or as in CNA. And then 92% of Youth Build members graduate our program with a placement rate of 96% in employment or post-secondary education and training opportunities. And we've also been recognized for our MLK Service Day events, where we received an Outstanding Service Project Award. And out of over 200 programs across the country, Miss Pierce was named Director of the Year.
Well, thank you, Jasmine, for getting us started and laying out the groundwork for what a youth build program is. And really what makes a successful youth build program is having a strong program culture that's really built around tough love and respect. And that tough love really looks like adults who care about the young people. So the young people are witnessing caring adults sometimes for the first time in their lives. They come from homes sometimes, or schools, or communities where they haven't had people looking out for their best interest. And sometimes, no matter how smart you are or talented you might be, if you don't have that opportunity given to you, there's nothing for you to take advantage of. And these young people come to Youth Build somewhat lost. Their confidence is shook, and they're in desperate need of someone to just tell them that they can be successful, and to teach them how to take advantage of their God-given talents. Our young people are extremely bright, extremely determined, and extremely hardworking. They just needed a path. They needed someone to just show them some proper care, and what it meant to have somebody actively in your corner. And because of that, that structure and that care, it helps the young person develop a plan for their future, where you can see statistics like this. 88% of members passing their high school equivalency exam is extremely high compared to the national average, where the national average for passing the exam is around 60%. We're close to 90. 94% of our members earning an industry recognized credential. We served close to 200 members. So 94% of them have earned a CNA license or a construction license while in our program. 92% of members who have graduated, but 100% of those graduates have been placed in employment, college, or in an advanced training program. That structure is so important. And I was thinking about some of our young people today as I was planning for this presentation, and this student came to mind, this young girl, Brittany, who was in our program. I want to say 4 years ago or 5 years ago, she was a student in our program, in our construction cohort. We didn't offer healthcare back then. And when she came to us, you know, I just remember her really looking down all the time, really lacking confidence or self-worth, not much of a plan for what she was gonna do. She was showing up at our program almost like, I just gotta be somewhere around people who seem positive. And there was just such a transformation in her from the time she started until when she ended in our program, where she just turned into this young person who was just full of confidence, inspired by others, ready to just show people that she could be successful. She just wanted people to see what she could do. She wanted people to be proud of her. She wanted to be proud of herself. And she never realized how smart she really was. You know, when she was in high school, she would sit in the back of the classroom. She wouldn't sit in the front with all the kids who were assumed to be really smart, all the kids who were assumed to go on to college. She kind of got lost in that crowd. And if she had been given the opportunity to sit in the front, she would have graduated high school. She would have gone to college right away. And what's beautiful about her story is recently it came full circle. She's a mom, she's married, and she bought a house. She has a career that she loves. And in my 10 years of Youth Build, I have so many stories like that. So if we can go to the next slide, it just speaks about our alumni engagement and just the message of once you're in Youth Build, you're always in Youth Build. Jasmine talked about mental toughness. Mental toughness is really transformative for these young people because when they come to the program, they're coming through that door lacking that confidence. Well, they're not coming through that door alone. They're coming through that door with everybody in this photo came to mental toughness together. And those first 2 days, they're being asked to exercise. They haven't exercised in over a year. They're being asked to do homework. Sometimes they haven't done homework in 2 or 3 years. And they're not being asked to sit in the front of the class. They're being asked to stand up in front of their peers every day and read out loud. They're asked to memorize a pledge, a Youth Build North Shore pledge within a week. And that's over a page long. And this structure of accountability, it starts from the staff, but it trickles down through the young people. That when a kid wants, a young person wants to quit, their fellow members are coming to them and saying, don't quit on yourself. Don't quit on this team. We're going to do this together. And it builds a structure of a family. And prior to this presentation today, I was asked to share a success story. And I was thinking to myself, well, which one do I share? So I just started calling some of my alumni within the last 45 minutes or so, just to catch up with some random ones I haven't talked to in a while. And so I spoke to Scott, and Scott told me, Mr. Quigley, I just bought my first car. I can't believe it. I don't have to share my car with my brother anymore. And next semester, I'm finally going to graduate college. I spoke to Desiree, who was telling me, I really think that I'm excited to get married and I love the job that I have as a CNA. And this alumni network and having the ability to stay connected is so important. And what I can tell you is that the power of love and respect to a young person and the structure that they're dying for, they may tell you they don't want structure, but once they have it, they can do wonderful things. They're very capable. That's why we call them opportunity youth. Because once they're provided the opportunity and they have people that believe in them, they're not going to end up in prison. They're not going to end up unemployed because they're too smart for that. And they do great things. And when we're back in person in September, I would love to have you come to site and meet some of these young people in person, because you'll be blown away with just how determined they are to do well. So thanks for taking the time to learn about Youth Build today. I hope we covered everything that we were supposed to at our presentation. And I'm always happy to answer any questions that you might have about our program.
So next so thank you, Mike. And I like to think that our programs kind of coincide together. That last bullet point on that previous slide was that North Shore CDC, we found that about 70 to 80% of our young people were experiencing homelessness. And so when we had acquired the Harbor Lafayette project, which I think we had already owned, Eileen probably has a deeper detail into that, we saw as a great opportunity to say, let's set aside some of those apartments for young adults 18 to 24, which no other organization I know was willing to put an 18-year-old on a lease. And so Hannah, Eileen, and myself got to be a part of that first experience. So I'm going to turn over to Hannah. Hannah's in the trenches. She works directly in the office with the young people. Hannah's just amazing. So Hannah, you want to share a little about Harbor Crossing, and Eileen's also going to share some stuff as well.
Sounds good. Thank you, Felicia. Hi, everyone. So let's see. I came to North Shore CDC 4 years ago in 3 days, which is very exciting, as a MSW intern. I was getting my master's in social work at Salem State and just fell in love with Youth Build, and just was so lucky to be able to stay on and be a part of the team, and then get to move into Harbor Crossing. So it's been an awesome journey that I can't wait to continue. So anyway, enough about me. So Harbor Crossing, let's see. We opened in April of 2019. We spent probably over a year planning things out, how we wanted to provide services, we do welcome baskets, what we wanted to put in the welcome baskets, the furniture we provide, lots and lots of meetings for this building. So Harbor Crossing provides non-time limited supportive housing to youth 18 to 24 who were either experiencing homelessness prior to moving in or aging out of the care of the Department of Children and Families. The building has 16 micro studio units. We also have a live-in resident manager, Chris, who is amazing. His window is the bottom right one. He provides any kind of services and support that youth might need on the weekends or overnight. I also get the privilege of getting to work there pre-COVID in-house, part of my time. And we have a laundry room, which is very handy, and lots of resources and information about opportunities that are around the North Shore, scattered throughout the building on different resource boards. So the core values of Harbor Crossing, which we try and instill in all the youth coming in, is accountability, taking responsibility for your actions and kind of thinking through things and learning and growing from them. Respect, fostering, you guys are all over mine. Fostering personal advancement and individual growth, a commitment to community, diversity and inclusion, so making sure everyone feels welcome and safe in the building has been super important, and that everyone has the right to self-determination. This is like their launching time, right? In your life is 18, 19 years old. And it's important that they are the ones directing where their life goes. So it's awesome getting to stand with them and walk alongside them in their journey, but they're really the ones figuring out where they want to go in life. So these statistics are based on the original 18, as I call them. There were 18 youth over the first year. 2 of them moved out within a few months, so we just count them as well. So we found, interestingly enough, that most of the youth moving in were just homeless and had not had an affiliation with DCF, or weren't aging out of it, I should say. We found that it was about split between male and female. We do have one person that identifies as non-binary. The greatest age we found, so age of entry, 23 and 24-year-olds were actually the highest to move in. The most people moved in at that age. And then we found that there were 7 Caucasian people who moved in, 5 Hispanic, 3 African American, 2 multiracial, and 1 other. And then, so kind of as everyone's moving in, we're starting, it might seem preemptive, we're starting to have conversation about what's next in life. Do they want to buy a house someday or a condo, or do they want to be renters forever? Kind of what do they see for themselves? So we start working right off the bat on budgeting and planning and saving. And so what kind of job do you need to get to buy a house, that kind of thing. But we always want to make sure as they're transitioning out that they're going somewhere safe that's not back into homelessness. And so far we've been able to do that. We had 2 youth who went on to rent their own apartments, which was very exciting. Their income went up enough that they were able to afford a 1-bedroom. We had 3 other youth get opportunities through other subsidized housing programs to move into 1-bedrooms, which was great. We also had 1 youth move in with family. He needed a little bit more support than we were able to offer him. So he moved in with an aunt and uncle. And then we had 1 other youth who decided that it just was not, she wasn't ready to leave DCF care, and just wanted the support services they could provide. So I'd love to tell you about Marissa. She was one of our originals. She moved in when the building opened in April 2019. She was 19 and a mom of 2, but didn't have custody of them at the time. So she was also working part-time at a local restaurant as a server. You know, her goal in life was to get reunited with her children. So we worked on it. We found her the MediClerk training program, which is through Wellspring House and the North Shore Medical Center. It is a super intense educational program that trains them for entry-level administrative positions within the healthcare field. And I just remember Marissa, when she was going through it, she had a lot going on in her life. And she persevered, she motivated, she got her homework done, and she did it. And she graduated in that following December, which these pictures are actually from her graduation. So kind of at the same time, she got a letter from Salem Housing, which she had been, she'd come to the top of the wait list for a 2-bed subsidized apartment that we did all the paperwork for and got everything submitted, and she was approved for, and she was able to move into it in June of 2020 with her 2 kids, which was amazing. We got to her goal, so that was exciting. She's actually since had another little one, so and is doing good, working in the field. Very proud of her. Oops, sorry. I'll let Felicia take over. Thanks so much for letting me take your time.
No, thank you so much, Hannah. And the story about Marissa is awesome. I remember when Marissa was a tough case, and I'm so happy that with the support of Hannah, I say tough case because she just had so many goals and so many dreams and ambitions, but she just couldn't find a way to get there. And I remember that time I sat with her outside on the parklet and was like, call them for the interviews. And she actually did call them. And Hannah made sure she had everything she needed. I think we got our scholarship, or we got our scrubs also for the MediClerk program too, right, Hannah? Yeah. Yeah, and so Hannah also helped furnish all the units. That's something she didn't share. Hannah went to IKEA. I think we have pictures of shopping carts full of linens and everything. So Hannah makes sure all the young people that move into Harbor Crossing had everything that they need to be successful in their first time apartment, which is great. So thank you, Hannah, for sharing. Go ahead, Hannah.
I was just going to speak on the community events, which seemed like so long ago with this COVID thing. But another really fun thing that we get to do with Harbor Crossing is every month we would host different community events that were like themed. So we had like a tie-dye party one time, which you see Justin in this picture, making a mess, but we had such a blast. And then we had an outdoor movie night and a Thanksgiving dinner feast. So hopefully sometime this year we'll be back together and can do some sort of something in person that's fun and just kind of gets everyone together for the first time in a year and a half. We did do virtual trivia. I will say that. We will try that again.
Thank you so much, Hannah. And Hannah's correct about, the community aspect was so important. Our young people just want somewhere safe to live, and they want a place to call home. If you go into Harbor Crossing, the halls are pretty quiet, and they just want safety. They want to have a place that they can say, this is my home and I love being here. And because they are micro units, they all live by themselves. And so we try to create that family friendly atmosphere. In the pictures you see Jean and Justin and Ben, who all we know their personal stories and the struggles they went through with just securing housing, and how housing has helped them become successful because of it. And so North Shore CDC has really thought about what next steps we want to produce when it comes to thinking about youth housing and just supportive housing. And so we've made a strategic planning investment. And so I'm currently working with two housing specialists who have over 20 plus years of experience working with youth who experience homelessness. And so we're looking at support service exploration, developing a service plan that can really meet the needs of young people. We're looking at what we learned from our Harbor Crossing project. I've been meeting with different organizations across the country and thinking about the work that they do and how they invest in this population of young people. And so we're actually looking at planning what community partners we're working with currently and how do we maybe implement some of those things into a project like this one. And then staff capacity and staff planning. We have an awesome team here and great professionals, but it's really going to take a further investment from the North Shore CDC side of making sure that if we are working with more young people who have this background and experience, that we're making an intentional investment. And at some point, we do want to engage your congregation members and do a focus group to kind of see also how you want to get involved in the different services, the different ways to engage with this population as well. And Eileen will probably talk a little bit more about that in a little bit because we think it's important that these young people feel supported, they have a place to call home, they feel safe, and also that they have more smiling pictures like this and more happy moments like this, because they didn't always have happy moments like this. And I have about 3 tie-dye shirts I made on that day. And I think that was actually my first time doing tie-dye, which was fun. And Hira, who's our outreach coordinator, the guy in the suit, apparently he didn't know what tie-dye was either, because he wore a suit to the tie-dye party. But I'll turn it over to Eileen to talk about some of the other investments we made and even the capital investment. Eileen?
Okay, hi there. So, I mean, it's so hard to follow this amazing team that I get to work with. And we really, Mickey and I really wanted you to learn a lot more about the great work that is being done by the CDC and, particularly about the youth, because that is an important component of the project we've all talked about. It isn't the only component, because we have talked about having a percentage of the new residential portion at the Tabernacle be youth, as well as providing permanent housing for older individuals, with the idea that that would be a little bit more permanent housing. This is a little bit more transient housing, only in the sense that, as Hannah said, we like it to be a safe place for people to get their feet on the ground, young people to get their feet on the ground, and then move to a next step, a larger apartment, a family, or college, or whatever. So the nice thing is that we've learned, our first project was Harbor Crossing. So Harbor Crossing was part of a 2-building project that we call Harbor Lafayette Homes. The Lafayette part is adults in studios and 1-bedrooms, and then the Harbor is the youth, the Harbor Crossing building. That was an existing building. We were kind of constrained with this very small building you saw, with very, very limited space. And we think our architects did a great job of making them really nice, small apartments for people. But there's a lot that we weren't able to do. I mean, Hannah works out of a teeny tiny office. We almost forgot to give her a bathroom. I'll never, ever forget that. There's no community room. There's no place. That's why they do events outside. They do events in other parts of other properties that we own, but there's no place for the residents to get together, have a party, have a meeting, anything like that. So these are the things that we are working with our architects to design into the residential portion at Tabernacle, so that people have they have everything they need in the apartments themselves, but they also have that place where maybe a central kitchen where they can gather around and learn to cook healthy meals, celebrate events, do a tie-dye, take a educational class. Those are all the wonderful additional things that we're proposing to include in this project. And as we go through the plans again, we've really focused with Tabernacle on your main building, your sanctuary building, but we will start looking a little bit more in depth into the new construction as well. And these are the type of things you're going to see. We'll talk to you all about it, get your input on it as well, work really, really closely with this team, Mike, Hannah, Jasmine, Felicia, work with some of the youth that are living in Harbor Crossing to get some feedback about what they like, what they don't like. So we just see this as an opportunity to work with a lot more youth that really are looking for a safe place to live, a place to explore and grow, but also it's an opportunity for us to do the same thing, to kind of improve upon the services that we're able to provide to the youth. And the other thing I just wanted to say is important, but I want to give you guys time to ask questions, is that just to tell you quickly my role as the senior project manager. I am in charge of a project from the conception stage, which is what we're in now, through to funding and completely through all the construction. So we will work together with Tabernacle to probably best thing is you'll have a team of people that will be very intimately involved on Tabernacle side that will work together to really closely monitor the construction every step of the way. And then I stay involved in the project until through the leasing up time when we're bringing residents in, we're moving them in. And then what we do is we hand over, at that point, real estate hands over the projects to our really capable property management company, which is Peabody Properties. And they are a large property management company in Massachusetts that manages all sorts of properties from senior to family to studios and affordable and market rate. And they have an incredible range of experience and knowledge. And they work really closely with us on the actual, locating, finding tenants, moving them in. And then there's a very, very active property management team that is there in the office on a day-to-day basis to handle any maintenance issues, handle any leasing issues, and also will work hand in hand with the youth build. The youth team, the Hannah's team, and there's just we really believe in collaborating amongst ourselves and with the tenants, so the residents. So there's a lot of working together throughout the entire process. So it doesn't just end when we move people in. We keep a very involved in with people all the way through. That this is particularly so with our youth, but even with our with adults and families. We're very service enriched, and that's really important to us. So it's a very long-term process and relationship. And I think that's really pretty much our presentation. We wanted to leave the rest of the time for any questions people have.
Eileen, we do have a video to show.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry about that. We do have a great video.
Thank you so much, Eileen. Appreciate it.
Can you hear it?
Mhm.
Well,
Not anymore, Hannah.
You can't. You, I think you have to unmute yourself.
I'm so sorry because I muted myself.
Mhm.
where I used to work, I was a program manager, and I had to drop an 18-year-old girl to a shelter. And never in my life, I said I would never do that again. 70% of young people that come to Youth Build, they come because they want to better themselves. They struggle with homelessness or housing instability.
They're often couch surfing. They're not necessarily living on the streets, and maybe not even living in a shelter, because shelters are not necessarily so safe for young people.
They are so vulnerable at such a critical point in their lives when they're growing and developing their identity and who they are and what they stand for. The need for support for that age group is huge. Some of them don't have that life support or those connections to people who they really trust. A lot of youth and young adults do not trust adults because adults have hurt them, lied to them. We have found that a lot of the young people in our housing development are actually part of the LGBTQ community. And then we also find that LGBTQ youth are the highest population right now that are committing suicide. And so we try to provide as much service and support to them to let them know that they are loved and that they are cared for. We opened Harbor Crossing in 2019. It is 100% affordable housing that gives priority to youth 18 to 24 who are either aging out of the Department of Children and Families or who are experiencing homelessness.
Each unit came with everything from a bed to linen to sponges to a laundry basket, so that when the kids walked in, they really just brought their clothing and they had everything they needed.
Louis is an amazing young man. He is respectful, kind-hearted, and he supports those around him. He joined our Youth Build program probably about a year and a half ago. And just right off the bat, just showed himself as a true leader. And then has just recently in May moved into Harbor Crossing. It's cool, like it's like our own little community, you know. Everybody in there is nice. It's just really teaching me to be an adult, because before, you know, I would just have to worry about like a phone bill or something. And I think I'm being an adult by paying my phone bill, you know, like that's nothing. You know, moving in here is just teaching me to really become a young man, be an adult. Like we definitely need more of this, because there's tens of thousands, you know, other kids out there in the world like me, or their situation is a lot worse than mine.
The most gratifying thing for me was when I got to walk one of the youth through the different units so they could pick which unit they wanted. And I saw her face and it was like Christmas morning, you know, and when she saw it and she's like, this is for me, I really wanted to cry. I don't think I really understood the depth of what was missing from their lives and how really meaningful and how life-changing this was going to be until I saw this young woman's face. I respect everybody that works at the North Shore CDC. I think they're amazing people, and they do amazing work.
Great. Thank you so much, Hannah, for doing the screen. So that opens us up for, I know it's a tough video. Every time I watch that, it's a tough video. But that opens anyone up for questions. If you have any questions for any of the North Shore CDC team.
There is a question that Nancy Lutz had put in regarding sort of the legal structure, who would own the building and property, and that's that's a bit of a complicated question, only because that's something we've discussed briefly with the legal team at the Tabernacle, how to work that. The land is owned by the church, and so how the building, if the new building that we build, what the ownership of that is still really to be determined. So I'm not hiding anything. We really don't know, and that's a conversation between Tabernacle and the CDC to figure out what the best structure is. And sometimes structures are just impacted on the funding sources as well. Sometimes funding sources require nonprofit, or they can't be faith-based for certain state funding, as you probably know. So we just, that's we'll probably form a joint partnership, but we'll let the attorneys get involved a lot more in that side. Any other questions?
I'll ask a question. First of all, thank you all very, very much. That was great. And I think that's the side I've been waiting for like, however many years we've been talking. So that's terribly exciting for me, and I love to see your programs. I guess my first thought I had, my questions were around, do you have like more kids than you can service like for Youth Build, or are you guys able to, you know what I mean? Like, are there more kids out there that than that you can service in the program?
Mike, do you want to?
Yeah, I think for Youth Build, there are definitely more young people out there than we're allowed to service, because we're just restricted in how much we can take on. And that comes down to funding. However, we do have a good stream of funding sources. So we are able to serve between 35 and 40 young people each year. But throughout the state of Massachusetts, there is a need between the 11 programs, where what we've seen from the amount of young people who are interested in the program, what we can take in, there is a larger need for either larger Youth Build programs or more programs like Youth Build in general.
I would, to add on to that, Mike is correct, but I would also say that Youth Build is a great program, but it's not always the program for every young person. And I think that's the key, right? And so as a chief program officer, part of my job is to think strategically about how we can best serve young people. So sometimes we're making partnerships with organizations so that we can filter them to organizations that's a good fit. So construction and healthcare are our primary career tracks. That may not be for everyone. We work with people who primarily dropped out of high school. And so that's also key. But we have a lot of young people that come to North Shore CDC looking for assistance and support. And also sometimes people apply to Youth Build, and we find they have so many barriers, they cannot be successful in Youth Build at the current moment. And so us making this investment and working with youth who experience homelessness, I always say to my staff, when we have a young person that's like, I'm couch surfing, I'm saying this, but they're like, but they really they didn't show up for their high set exam, right? And I'm like, yeah, because if you have nowhere to lay your head at, how do you show up for a test, right? And so I think the answer to that question is that there are a lot of young people that need support. Youth Build, we do have a waiting list. And so I think opportunities like this, where we partner with organizations like yourself, provides that space where there's potentially mentors, or there are people who have those connections. I think social capital is the best investment we can make into young people. So if I know someone who knows someone who knows someone who has a job, they're more likely to take a chance on a young person that may have a background or a past or has very minimal work experience. And then communicating back and saying, hey, Felicia, Johnny didn't show up to work. Can you give them a call to find out what's going on? I called Johnny, and Johnny's like, I didn't have bus fare. Okay, Johnny, you didn't have bus fare this one time. I'll talk to your employer and let's talk about it. And I think that, I don't know if that's answering your question, Beth, but that really is a way of which we can use the most support.
I just wanted to jump in there too. I'm not sure if this is also part of the question, but it's interesting because we serve homeless people or people in danger of being homeless, families. And when you work with families, there's a lot of agencies out there that we can approach, and they have lists of families, right? People go on these waiting lists for years and years. And we discovered that it was a little different with the youth. I mean, they're very, as I said in the video, they a lot of them are couch surfing. They're not, it may be in a shelter. So I'm not sure if they always even think of themselves as homeless. They're not necessarily registered at an agency. So it was a lot more work, actually. We know that they're out there, and we knew that they were out there before Harbor Crossing. It wasn't as easy sometimes to find the kids. You have, it's also like through word of mouth. What this kid knows, oh, they have a bunch of friends that hang out at either somebody's house, or they sleep in the car or whatever, and that's how they hear about you. The other thing too is, whereas a family, they go on a list, and a year later you can call them and that you got a house came up or an apartment comes up, and usually you can reach them. Maybe the numbers change, but you can get them through an agency. The youth, you can't often. They're just gone, or they're hard to find. So it's a challenging population in that regard. There's not the same kind of hard, fast numbers out there, but that's why the youth build is not, not everyone in youth build would be in this housing, not everyone in this housing would be in youth build, but that's how we learned so much about what the need was. And I think that's how we learned a lot about the many of the residents who are in our Harbor Crossing building, and probably would be in this Tabernacle building.
Thank you.
I have a question. So the students that live, not students, the adults that are living in the Harbor House at this point, when they access services, since that building is so small, where do they go to access the service? Is there another CDC building with counseling services and job training and that sort of thing?
So I can try and answer that.
Okay.
So, I have a little tiny office, but it works. It fits 2 people on site at Harbor Crossing. That I'm there pre-COVID, like 2.5 days a week. And then, of course, if they need something on the other 2 days, they can come over to our CDC main office, where they'll find me either upstairs or down at Youth Build. Same thing with Jasmine. So can definitely access us wherever we are, whatever CDC property we're at that day.
And you connect them to various different, also outside services and the school and jobs and things like that. So you work really strong, closely with partner agencies and connect people.
Yes. Yep. We have a very close partnership with Lynn Housing, specifically the North Shore Youth Housing Action Group with Merlinda. She's wonderful. So we back probably 3 years at this point. She's just been so helpful with Harbor Crossing.
But it is, I mean, Hannah, it is definitely hinders the fact that there's no meeting room for you to meet with people. There's no community room. I mean, that is something that, we know is really lacking in Harbor Crossing.
Oh, absolutely. There's so many things that I think Felicia and Jasmine and I would love to do, but we just don't have that capacity at Harbor Street. And so even like next door, there's a building that we can use their community room, but you can't cook a meal or warm any food up or anything like that. So it's somewhere, it's a space, but it'd be lovely to have some kind of common kitchen area. It's funny you mentioned the cooking classes, because I actually have a resident who went through the Root program. And I asked him, I was like, would you do a cooking class for us when we're back in person? And he is very shy. And he was like, okay. I was like, you're going to be great at it. Like, you could do this. So hopefully we go back soon so he can show us his chefing skills.
So the residents, I just have one more, if that's okay.
Oh, yeah, please.
So the residents that live there, is there a requirement, like a school requirement, a work requirement, a requirement to stay there, or do they so they just stay there because they need housing? Okay.
So I will say the majority, I can get you the actual numbers, the majority of youth are either working or doing youth build or some other job training program. There are a couple of youth who are getting Social Security benefits. So even with them, it's kind of like, okay, so what can we do to volunteer somewhere? How can we still be active in the community? It really is just motivating them to kind of want to get out there in life, because there aren't any requirements, nor to meet with me. So it was really important to develop a strong rapport right from the get-go.
Yeah, and that goes into that core value of the right to self-determination. So we don't want these young adults that sign a lease to feel like they have to live here based off a set of requirements, right? Their whole life they've been checking boxes. So we want them to feel determined to take ownership of their own lives and say, I want to work and I want to be successful and I want to go to school. And sometimes it takes a little bit more encouragement for others. Like Hannah said, well, let's volunteer. You like animals? Let's see if we can get you a volunteer job at the pet shelter for 2 days a week. But there's no requirements because they are signing a lease. and they are tenants. It's not transitional housing.
Okay, great, thank
Yeah, the funding sources didn't allow us, that was all stuff we had to sort of feel out when we were developing this. What not only from a programmatic side, but also even would the state allow us? Like what happens when you turn 24? Because the idea is we really would prefer people not live there till they're 50, because then we're not serving a newer generation of kids. But how do you get people out? Well, there are the most of the state funding doesn't really allow you to require, as Felicia was saying, that they attend a meeting or that they get a job or that they move. So you try to, do it in a very collaborative, motivating kind of way. And Hannah's great at that, and the team's really good at that so that they realize that it's the right thing to do for them, but they've got to themselves.
Great, thank you.
Those were good questions.
Yeah. So where does the training happen? Where does the training take place? For the nursing and the construction stuff?
Jasmine or Mike?
Yeah, so I can speak about the construction. Jasmine can talk about the CNA courses. The construction training, we have a workshop in-house, so that's where they'll learn some of their skills from their curriculum to earn their certificate. But then they put those skills into practice. So that's through building affordable housing for the North Shore CDC. We have a project coming up for Habitat for Humanity, and then through construction service projects. So we do a variety of different construction, smaller scale projects throughout the North Shore. Currently, we're at Newhall Fields Community Farm. We're helping out at the farm, building a structure to collect rainwater that will help grow their vegetables. So yeah, we do. It's all done in-house and through building affordable housing. And Jasmine.
Yeah, in our CNA program, our members go to North Shore Community College for that.
Okay.
So yeah, when we were in person, what we would do was meet in front of the Youth Build building on Lafayette Street and drive together in the Youth Build van to the Land campus. And yeah, we would always have a staff member there with them, to assist them with some things. And yeah, it worked out for us.
That's great. That's great. Thank you.
Well, it's good timing if you've.
Yeah. Anybody have any other questions?
Wow. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for the presentation. I learned an awful lot today.
Your work is inspiring. One of the women from the church said, North Shore CDC is the kind of church I want to belong to. Right?
I love that.
Yeah. What you do in the community is what she believes church is all about. And she's not here tonight, but I know she would be clapping her hands and saying, yeah, this is it. This is it. This is what church should be. So it's very exciting. Thank you.
Thank you. We see a wonderful partnership with Tabernacle. So we're super excited.
Great. All right.
Wow.
Well, thank you all.
Thank you.